Hi everybody, welcome to Christian Homestead. My name is Jared. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. We have more news coming from Israel. You guys, we really need to pay attention, not just to Utah, not just to Missouri, but also to Israel, and specifically Jerusalem, and even more specifically, I think, the Temple Mount. Since I've started my channel, we've seen a whole series of things that we have not seen on the Temple Mount, sometimes in 2,000 years, sometimes just not since Israel became a nation. But this one, I, I cannot believe that it has gone this far. The world is a much different place than when I was born. It's a much different place from even just 10 years ago. All right, so we're looking at a Facebook post by the Temple Institute dated August 16th. It says, for the first time, Jews are praying on the Temple Mount with Sidurim, or Jewish prayer books, something that until now was not tolerated by police. A second photo documents two Kohanim, which are Jewish priests, descendants of Aaron in the Bible, and of the tribe of Levi. A second photo documents two Kohanim blessing their brethren while covering themselves in talitot, or prayer shawls. Another fixture of Jewish worship that the police, until now, this is crazy, until now have prevented. The struggle for full and equal freedom of worship on the Temple Mount continues, and gains are being made every day. Greater access and greater freedom will come. And I think that's true just because there's a trend. I see a trend. I'm going to show it to you in just a minute here. But here are the Jews reading from those prayer books. And then these are the two Jewish priests that are giving priestly blessings. And this is how they do it. I've never seen them do it with blue talitot. Usually it's white. The first time I ever saw a priestly blessing by a Jewish priest was during a Rosh Hashanah service. I think it was that first year that I started my channel. So in 2021, I'd never seen it before that point, but they cover themselves. From what I remember, you're not supposed to look directly at the priest. And then on top of that, they cover themselves. They put their hands up and do the symbol like this with their hands. I think there's something with that having to be like the shape of one of the Jewish letters. I think it's called Samish or Shamish. But yeah, this hand sign that we usually think of with Star Trek, it actually came from Judaism because, what was his name? Leonard Nimoy, the man who played Spock. He was Jewish and he suggested that for the Vulcans. So I cannot believe that they are doing this on the Temple Mount. When I started my channel, which was before the Iran War, it was before the 12-Day War, it was before the October 7th attacks, people would lose their minds with any little violation of the status quo on the Temple Mount. And now, I don't know, possibly because of these wars, it seems like their will has been broken, maybe, or I'm talking about like the Palestinians and Muslims that would want to keep the status quo. I think maybe they've become demoralized. I don't know, but I feel like it has to do with the wars that we've seen. And by the way, I'm not here like, oh yeah, go Jews, and they should be doing this. Like, I'm not about contention. I'm not about breaking the law. I don't think they're breaking the law, but I'm not about basically forcing your way in certain situations. So I'm going to leave this between the Jews and the Lord. But what I do want to reiterate before we continue, and I show you just everything that's been going on. I want to reiterate something that at the time Elder Howard W. Hunter said of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. He later became president of the church. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but this is a BYU devotional, February 4th, 1979. All are alike unto God. I'll just pretty much read these red parts, but starting right here. At the present time, we are engaged in a project of beautifying the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem by a garden in memory of Orson Hyde, an early apostle of the church, and the dedicatory prayer he offered at that site. It is not because we favor one people over another. Jerusalem is sacred to the Jews, but it is also sacred to the Arabs. Later on, both the Jews and the Arabs are children of our Father. They are both children of promise. And as a church, we do not take sides. All right. And of course, that's the position that I take. So I'm not trying to be a cheerleader for this, but I am an observer because I feel like these are signs of the times. I don't know what's going to lead to the temple being built in Jerusalem. I do tend to favor the idea that the BYU Jerusalem Center will be a temple. I don't think there has to be just one temple in Jerusalem. I think it will be a temple in Jerusalem, and it can be renovated. The Lord can use it however he wants. And of course, the church would not break their agreement with the Israeli government, but the Lord can do what he wants, how he wants. And so I don't know. I don't know if this is leading up to the Jews building their temple, if that's how it goes. But it is part of this like excitement and this kind of like movement. This is basically all activism, is the way that I would classify it. But it's getting more and more intense. Okay, so with that being said, let's go to my spreadsheet for my other channel called Jewish Scroll, which eventually I'll get to making videos for that again. But for right now, I'm just doing this video on this channel. Okay, so this is my spreadsheet called Signs of the Times, but for the Jews. These are things that some Jews would probably consider signs of the times. Not all. There's a wide array of beliefs within Judaism, but with the Jews that I have personally spoken to, I think that they would agree that these are signs of the times. I've created a new row, a new column H, for first time on Temple Mount. So I already have a column for first time in 2,000 years, but this one is first time on Temple Mount because, for one thing, certain things may not have been done 2,000 years ago. Like, for example, I don't know that they had Sidurim 2,000 years ago. And secondly, it may be that, it's just something that applies to nowadays rather than 2,000 years ago. Okay, that was eloquently said. Okay, so this is my most recent item. For the first time on the Temple Mount, the Israeli police allow Jewish prayer books or Sidurim, and then for Kohanim to perform blessings. Now, what's interesting is that earlier this year, on January 21st, we had something similar. For the first time in decades, the Israeli police allow prayer cards printed by the Temple Mount Yeshiva to be used on the Temple Mount. And we looked at this article by Times of Israel, and here's what those what those prayer cards look like. So that escalated pretty quickly from you have to get it from this specific yeshiva, and it's just this one printed card. It escalated from that to now just to this, and also using these prayer books right here. That's just this year. That's how quickly it seems that things are progressing with what the Jews are allowed to do on the Temple Mount. I do tend to think, based on conversations that I've had with AI and things that I've read, that they are trying to change the status quo on the Temple Mount through just like small things like this. So one year it's this, the next year it's going to be something different, maybe um, more visible, louder, whatever it may be. And I don't know. That's just how things tend to go, right? If you're trying to change like a society or culture, a lot of times it just starts small, and then nobody really says anything about it, and then it kind of gets normalized, and then it's hard to fight against what is normalized. So it seems like this is what they are doing with the Temple Mount, and also other with other things in Israel. I'm not going to cover it right now, but I've seen a lot of things that Israeli settlers have been doing, um, which I definitely cannot support. But that's like a whole other video. There's a lot of bad things going on. Um, but anyway, earlier this year we had this. Okay, so we went from a printed page to just a full-on book in 2026. Okay, the next one back, record-breaking number of Jews ascending the Temple Mount. And then December of last year, on the 23rd, we had three things. For the first time in 2,000 years, a Jew ascended the Temple Mount wearing his tefillin, which is like the black box that they put on their forehead, and the black strap that goes around their forearm. The first time in 2,000 years, Jews were allowed to ascend the Temple Mount and pray from Sidurim. Now, you might be confused and you might say, see, here's the thing. I don't know if it was like allowed the first time or if it was like snuck onto the Temple Mount. And then this time, the one that we're covering right now, they were officially allowed to pray from the Sidurim. But I don't know. This is something that the Temple Institute reported on Facebook back in December 2025. So I don't know if they forgot about December or if it's just that the first time they weren't really allowed, or like the police just kind of like looked on, but this time they were explicitly allowed. I don't know. But you had that. And then on that same occasion, for the first time in 2,000 years, a Hanukkah or a Hanukkah was kindled on the Temple Mount. And I do have pictures of that. So here's the Hanukkah, just these little candles right here, nothing really fancy. You see the Jewish woman in the background seeming very excited about that. And then, oh, well, yeah. And then you see him, he has his talit on, but you can also see the tefillin, the box on top of his head. And you can see the strap coming down right here. But I think I thought there was a better picture. Maybe not. Oh, yeah, right there. This guy. So he's just out in the open with his tefillin. All right. So we have that. And then August 25th of last year, for the first time in 2,000 years, the shofar has been sounded on the Temple Mount. And there's a video of that. I'm not going to play the video, but you can see this Jewish man that's part of a tour group. They have to go on this like guided tour along a certain route. And he had a shofar, a ram's horn, and he blew it on the Temple Mount. It really seems like at this point, the police just do not care about anything. I don't know what they do restrict at this point. In fact, July 29th of last year, Israeli police pray on the Temple Mount. And here's a picture of it. It used to be, when I first started my channel, that you couldn't even pray on the Temple Mount. At least like not out loud, or it had to be like silent. Like maybe you could like, move your mouth and your lips, but you couldn't make any audible noise. I think it was something like that. And it couldn't like be too like visible. But now it's just like, look, here's one of the police doing it. And then here's this guy on his hands and knees doing it right next to them. So things have really changed since 2021. Okay, let's go on to the next one. I'm just doing what's in column H, first time on Temple Mount. Okay, for the first time in 2,000 years, a Cohen, which again is a Jewish priest, performs the 2 loaves sacrifice at the site of the temple courtyard on the Temple Mount. Rabbi Israel Ariel, head of the Temple Yeshiva and president of the Temple Institute, supervised. And this was reported in Israel 365 News. This is an article by my friend Adam Eliyahu Berkowitz. And there's a video, but I think there's some pictures down here. You can see the Jewish priest right here in his temple robes. And then the participant who had brought the 2 loaves, and they were that one they did not allow. The police stopped that. So this is more just like um, trying to sneak things on the Temple Mount, and they were caught. But that was pretty blatant. Again, if that had happened back in 2021, it probably would have led to skirmishes between Palestinians and the police on the Temple Mount. I'm all but certain that that's what would have happened with pretty much like all these things that we're talking about, but especially that one, because that one was really blatant. Okay, April 15th, 2025. Record number of 494 Jewish worshippers ascend the Temple Mount on the first day of Passover. October 2024, for the first time in 2,000 years, a Cohen ascended the Temple Mount in full priestly garb. I don't know. No, I don't have a picture of that. But basically, what you just saw, a Jewish priest in temple robes on the Temple Mount. October 6th, for the first time in 2,000 years, the entire Rosh Hashanah service was observed on the Temple Mount, including the blowing of the shofar, which again, who said this? This was Israel 365, but I just showed you that someone else, I think, had reported the blowing of the shofar. This was August of last year, and that was reported by the Temple Institute. So, I don't know. I don't know that anybody aside from myself is keeping a list like this. So you have 2 sources, and to their knowledge, it's like, oh, this is the first time that the shofar is being blown on the Temple Mount. I don't know, but I'm just going to record what people say. Okay, and then August 13th of 2024, for the first time in 2,000 years, silver temple trumpets were sounded on the Temple Mount, or probably better said, over the Temple Mount. There's this building that kind of juts over the Temple Mount or the temple area, and they have these silver temple trumpets. So they did this because of the war that had just recently broken out in 2023, because one of the purposes of the 2 silver temple trumpets is to it's meant to be blown at a time of war, and so that's what they did. Okay, and then just 2 more. September 16th of 2021, for the first time in 2,000 years, rabbis have an official meeting on the Temple Mount to discuss Jewish law, which I'm surprised that wasn't a more inflammatory event. But I tried to watch this, but it's all in Hebrew. But it's interesting that they were permitted to do that. And then the last item that I have, and the earliest on my list, and this is one of the first videos that I made on my channel, August 7th, 2021. So just 2 days before I started my channel, for the first time in 2,000 years, Yair Levy becomes the first Levite to sing on the Temple Mount. And this is him right here. And there's a video, there's a video on YouTube, and he just sings very quietly. But nowadays, based on everything that we're seeing, I think that he could just sing naturally and probably nothing would happen. He could probably do it in his Levite outfit. So you have like the priestly temple robes that are worn by the Kohanim, the Jewish priests, the descendants of Aaron. But then for the rest of the tribe of Levi, they have like a different outfit that they wear, which includes kind of like a white tunic, but also this like red and orange, brown type of like vest and cap. So he could probably wear that nowadays and no one would bat an eye. There really aren't very many eyes batting these days. So if we're just looking at these events that are the first time on the Temple Mount, I have recorded a total of 15. There are 15 of these events that I'm aware of. For other things, for things that are for things that have not happened in 2,000 years, for column G, I have a total of 16. For activism, I have 22. So, and these are all since, let's see, for the first time in 2,000 years, since 2015. For activism, the earliest one I have is from 2016. And then for column H, first time on the Temple Mount, the first item that I have is from August 7th, 2021. So things have just been wild. And it just makes me wonder, what's the next thing that I'm going to cover? You know, it's just like our church. I've wondered, with all the things that have changed in the church since President Nelson became president of the church, what else could change? I feel like we're running out of things to change. What else could possibly change? But I feel like there are going to be more changes that are coming, like big changes. And with this, like, they are pushing forward, and this feels like it's at fever pitch. And I don't know, but like, things that we have not seen before are happening. Is this going to lead to some type of activity, some type of action that they take that will lead to Armageddon? Maybe they'll cross a big red line that will, draw in the Muslim world to attack them because it's just too big of a red line that they've crossed. Maybe that will happen, or maybe they'll keep doing this, and maybe they eventually will be able to build the temple or something like that. I don't know, but I feel like boundaries are being crossed and we're approaching something big, because at some point, I don't know, just at some point, something even bigger is going to happen, whether it's a really large conflict over this, or whether it's the building of the temple, or I don't know what, but we'll just have to see how it plays out. All right. Well, that's going to be it for this one. I'll talk to you guys later.